Well, the plot thickens as we await Starship's Flight 5. This, of course, will be where SpaceX will attempt to catch the booster. But we learned last week that SpaceX probably won't have that launch until at least late November. This is because of something having to do with the FAA. So SpaceX needs to get a modified launch license in order to attempt to catch the booster. The FAA actually emailed me directly. I was a little freaked out to see them in my inbox. But basically, they wanted to make sure that I understood that SpaceX's current license authorizes the Starship Flight 4 launch, and that allows for multiple flights of the same vehicle configuration and mission profile. So basically, if SpaceX wanted to do an identical launch to what we saw in June, they're good to go. But the FAA says that SpaceX chose to modify both for its proposed Starship Flight 5 launch, which triggered a more in-depth review. In addition, SpaceX submitted new information in mid-August detailing how the environmental impact of Flight 5 will cover a larger area than previously reviewed. This is requiring the FAA to consult with other agencies, which sounds reasonable to me. But to my surprise, I got another email personally from the FAA this morning. I guess that means I've made it if the FAA is reaching out to me directly. But this is apparently a fine against SpaceX. The FAA has proposed a $633,000 fine over 2023 launch requirements. Surprisingly, these actually do not have to do with Starship. They have to do with Falcon 9. So why is SpaceX getting fined? Well, they allegedly failed to follow license requirements and didn't get approval for changes during 2 launches in 2023. The argument seems reasonable, but the timing is quite suspicious. We have an election coming up, and we thought that Starship's Flight 5 would be a lot sooner. So here is the FAA's statement. And I'll paraphrase. They said that SpaceX failed to get approval to revise its communications plan related to its license to launch from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida, including adding a new launch control room at Hangar X and removing the T-2 hour readiness poll from its procedures before a June 2023 launch. SpaceX used the unapproved launch control room and did not conduct the required poll, according to the FAA. According to the FAA, SpaceX also used an unapproved rocket propellant farm before a July 2023 mission after submitting a request to revise its explosive site plan related to its license to launch from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. SpaceX used the unapproved rocket propellant farm for the EchoStar Jupiter mission. So SpaceX has 30 days to respond to the FAA, and the FAA has broken down these fines: $175,000 for both of the June violations and $283,000 for the July incident. This certainly isn't the first time the FAA has gotten on SpaceX's case. In February 2023, they proposed a $175,000 civil penalty against SpaceX for failing to submit safety data to the agency prior to an August 2022 launch of Starlink satellites. And in September of 2023, the FAA ended an investigation into SpaceX's first Starship test launch, requiring the company to implement dozens of corrective measures. So people are very quick to comment about this. Some people saying the accusation seems credible, but the timing is incredibly suspicious. There's something going on between the IFT-5 BS and now this. Others saying some sort of drama is going on behind the scenes here. I feel like 80% confident saying that. On the one hand, the government does move slow. Just go to the DMV. But on the other hand, a lot of people are saying since Elon Musk has voiced his support for Trump, that the FAA and other government agencies are turning against SpaceX and it's undermining the mission. It's something that I think that we've all noticed, and I want to know from you in the comments if you think that this is actually political warfare at play. By the way, this is just a quick update video. I'm working on editing my full interview with Eric Berger, and here is a quick snippet from that.
But I'm also concerned about the political stuff, right? I don't care what his politics are. In my space coverage, I tend to be very apolitical.
Right.
Space itself is fairly non-political. But it was pretty jarring this past week, Ellie, to sort of see Elon, sharing these wonderful images from Polaris Dawn, right? Videos. I mean, this incredible mission with Jared Isaacman, and then he'll just throw in 3 or 4 tweets about about how Kamala is awful about this, or some kind of meme about that is like it plays to a political base, right?
Offering Taylor Swift a child.
I mean, these are pretty, to a large section of the population, these are pretty disturbing things. And so he's undermining SpaceX's mission, I think. And, you know, the mission is to like settle Mars. And like, so now you've got a large part of the world who looks at Elon Musk and says, this is not the person we want extending the light of consciousness into the solar system. And politically too, or, you know, SpaceX still relies to some extent on government contracts from NASA, the Department of Defense, and clearly some of those political leaders are uncomfortable with his behavior. And so the epilogue just sort of raises these issues and discusses my concerns and says, you know, look, they're way ahead of everyone right now.
Yeah.
But this is not inevitable. Like I start the book with the point that when SpaceX started flying the Falcon 9 rocket, they were upstarts. They were, in Gwen Shotwell's word, they were jackasses, right? Like no one really believed these guys, of all people, were going to revolutionize the world. And then 12 to 15 years later, they're on top of the world.
Right.
But nothing is inevitable.
Anyway, I wanted to get this out there just so that you had the facts and you know more of what's going on behind the scenes. I know many of you are very excited for Flight 5, as am I, but the FAA just keeps coming out with news about SpaceX and it's not all that good. By the way, September 16th, which was yesterday as of the recording of this video, has been 18 years since the first Falcon flight of Falcon 1 failed, which Elon posted this photo, and you can see the juxtaposition of them collecting pieces from the Falcon 1 rocket and then Jared Isaacman doing the first ever private commercial spacewalk. Pretty incredible stuff. So I hope that this video gets you up to date. Thank you so much for watching Ellie in Space. Please make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video.